Fourth race weekend of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup Tour. We're heading into the second and deciding heat, race 7 of the year for the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup. Innsbruck in Austria is the venue. Martin Haven and John Morgan, the commentary team. And John Morgan, an entertaining first heat as ever. Francesco Friedrich is the man that they will all have to beat.
And Team Oscar's Kiebermanis, who's, accomplished at the start, but he's in a position for third, but he's got another German right on his tail at fourth. Kiebermanis is going to have all he can do to fight off a German sweep here today. He's the great hope for the rest of the world. Here's Team Lochner. Well, Johannes had a weird start time, speed up top, and did pretty good down below the track, but he's in second place, but he couldn't match his teammate, and who can? We saw, Friedrich just continues to put these times down every heat, different brakeman. He uses all of the horses in his garage and his barn. And he's just like that guy Dukers yesterday. He's a Superman. It's hard to believe the guy can continue to do what he's doing. And Martin, tomorrow, if he wins, I think he ties Andre Lange for the most wins ever in World Cup bobsleigh.
Yeah, we're not sure, are we? We're not
sure about that.
Might be that Lange has 45. But by the end of the season, he'll have overpassed him, yeah, for sure. Friedrich leads by a handy margin, but there are a lot of really close battles all the way down the order. So buckle up, settle down, stand by for an hour of close racing. Well, what a stunning location this Innsbruck track is. Village of Eagles just down the road is what gives its name to the sliding centre here. But the double Olympic city of Innsbruck down at the bottom of the hill. Francesco Friedrich, as ever, carefree and seemingly just turns up, does it, goes home with another clutch of gold medals. But the preparation that gives him that performance is absolutely incredible. Hansi Lochner, first win of the weekend last Saturday, took silver on the Sunday behind Francesco. And the same three men were on the podium in both races. Oscar's Kiebermanis took bronze in both races. Looks like it will be the same three again. Nobody has found an answer to their pace over another week of training, John Morgan, which is unusual.
Well, the track itself, it's tough to keep a focus because the track's so easy. Here's our start list.
Yeah, 20 sleds go in reverse order. The Jamaicans go off first. It's great to have Jamaica back in the World Cup as well. We had Jamaica women's team competing briefly leading up to the last games, and now the men's team have got a chance to do the same as well heading into Beijing 2022. We get our second and deciding heat, race 7 of the BMW IBSF Men's World Cup for two-man bobsleigh underway here in Innsbruck in Austria. With Jamaica, Shanwayne Stevens, the driver. Matthew Wekpe is the brakeman. He wants to shout out to Tropical Sun Fruits, CrossFit Catford, and Mr. Murph, who apparently is the best British bulldog in the world. Get down, Murph, off the furniture. So let's see what the Jamaicans can produce here. Second ever push start at race speed for the brakeman. And Shanwayne, the driver, has only done a dozen races now in his career, mostly in North America.
Martin, he comes out of the RAF. He's a marksman, right?
Yeah, he's a gunner in the RAF regiment. Raced initially for the RAF bobsleigh team, so coached by a good friend of ours, Graham Richardson, the head coach at Canada. And then he went on the IBSF driving course in North America, and he slid in the NAC last year.
Well, if you're a marksman, that's about eyes and hands. So he's got the first part down, then he's going to need a start, which the Jamaicans, the Jamaicans were no fluke in Calgary in 1988. They had legitimate start times. They were right there and they were like 15 total trips in their lives before they got up there. And so these guys are continuing the legacy of the Cool Runnings, Jamaica bobsled. We're all thrilled to have them here.
Yep. Well, for a rookie brakeman with a dozen, rookie driver with a dozen races under his belt, Shanwen Stevens looks a pretty comfortable pair of hands down here in Innsbruck.
Hey, he's a marksman, you know, so that's about eyes and hands. That look at the runner tips there. I mean, both heats he had a problem there coming around 9, but he's safely down at the bottom. He's the leader. Go get in the leader's box. There's our egg, baby. They're promoters.
Good stuff. Next up, Markus Treichel from Austria. Now, it is still a Wallner cowl from his sled, from Hannes Wallner in Austria, but he's built his own chassis to go under it. So 5:26 the getaway, same as they had in the first heat.
Just like his teammate Benny Maher, they both started young in the sport. They drank the Kool-Aid, and they both are very good mechanics. They both, as you said, he rebuilt his sled. That's old school, Martin. You know, nowadays, Friedrich, he doesn't do much work in his sled. He maybe does some runners, but he talks to the mechanics, and they set it up for him. But the old school, you took care of your equipment.
Well, that's the old way, isn't it? Take care of your equipment, it takes care of you. High in 10, but he gets it down nicely.
Yeah, Markus isn't pretty happy about being way back in this position. He's had better results. He's battled some injuries the last couple of years. Wolfgang Stampfer, the long-time athlete driver, coaching the Austrians still. He's great with equipment. There's a guy you want in your garage.
Yep. 18th and 16th last week. Markus will be no worse than 19th, but he's a way off making up a spot.
Well, let me tell you this. Markus got more success probably in the four-man. Like a lot of pilots here, they're not doing four-man. I wonder how many guys have taken four-man trips in the last 6 weeks, Mark.
Not too
it's
many.
It's all two-man. Yeah, it's all. So it's going to be very interesting that, all of a sudden the four-mans, the big trucks are going to come out after the new year.
Well, Lamin Dean of Great Britain here will appreciate that as well. He definitely appreciates the four-man more. Ben Simon's behind him. And like a number of teams, they had a little bit of a wriggle at the start. Being coached by Pete Gunn. All three British teams are self-funding. So he's a soldier in the military during the off-season, but he also is a fundraiser, organises the team, pays the athletes, the training, the equipment, the coaching. You've got to dig deep to find the money.
5:28 start. Well, he had a problem in training, crashed out of curve 8, 9, and Martin, I think we told the story already, I'll tell it again. He was in 4th place in that World Championships in 2016. Well, he had a lightning start. We were convinced he came out, he was like the first or second man off. We were convinced he was going to win a medal that day, and he just shocked us by rolling it right here at curve 8. And in training, he did the same thing the other day. But the Queen's Guardsman is negotiating his way down this ice canal here in Eagles and has the lead with a 52.16.
Markus Treichel 100th quicker on the second trip down, but Lamin Dean had enough in hand to lead by 0.12 of a second. He'll be no worse than 18th to 19th place finishes last weekend.
We're getting there.
Lamin, 600's better in this heat. Runners, he had a little steering going on, and that's why he got into that little bit of a skid. The back end's coming out on him. And once you get in a skid like that, it's best just to take your medicine, hit the wall. Don't try and steer out of it. And like all the sleds, watch the back end rise, into that curve. 11, 12, 13. We saw the track record broken in the first heat. Martin, we've seen the track record broken in all disciplines.
Well, next up in Brad Hall's sled is Patrick Baumgartner with Alex Virginer. That's why it's got support the NHS, or thanks to the NHS and all the other charities that Brad Hall and his team are supporting down the side of the sled. The Italians have borrowed it because Brad is using their alternate sled this weekend. Baumgartner in 17th place. Brad Hall 13th after his first trip. Baumgartner's just trying something. He's trying something different. And John, when you've got 2 race weekends in the same place, you get that opportunity for back-to-back testing. It's a perfect chance to try different things.
Well, I told you in the first heat, I was shocked to see an Italian driving a blue sled. Yeah, I don't think I can remember it. I mean,
well, you're right, because we've had red Ferrari sleds for so long, but of course, think of rugby. What colour do the Italians play in? They're the azzurri, they're the blues, aren't they? So, you know, it's not a non-Italian colour, if you like. In motor racing, definitely, Rosso Corsa, racing red, that's the Italian colour. 700's off.
Back. Gonna be close.
Lamindine could pick up a spot here. He does. So British driver beats British sled.
Well, shakes his head. You know, Baumgartner won the 2012 Youth Games, first ever here in Innsbruck. He was the gold medalist. Came from alpine skiing. He's been driving for 10 years now, Martin. It's time for him to start to get some results.
Yeah,
a little late there.
For a couple of years.
Now watch.
He might have been on the.
How much air is he going to get here? Look at that, a little bit of air. So that's up top too. Okay, let's look at how much ice he carves here. He's late on that sidewall, and you could see how much spray came up. Look how low he sits, and he's 6'2", 6'3". He's a tall guy.
Yeah. So it is Lamindine who leads. He has a 0.17 of a second deficit to this man, Mattia Variola, former brakeman, with Eric Fantazzini. Eric in only his second ever bobsled race.
This is the place to do it. Bring him out to Innsbruck.
Yep. Get him down safely. Well, their starts in the first heat, 5:12. Let's see if the start track is any quicker for them. Hasn't been for anybody else so far.
Like many of the athletes here in the Italian program, they're policemen. So he's got the green numbers and a huge lead.
And he's got the red sled.
Yeah, we're feeling Norm. 4100s. Should have, but he's only got the 4th best speed. So he did something up there, 5, 6. That might have pulled him back. 3rd best speed, he's bringing it up, and that's not going to help. But should have 2/10 here at least, Martin, entering the last speed part of the track. 4500s, accelerating away, should be the best speed. This is
nice run from Mattia Variola. Yeah, 51.87. 2/10 of a second quicker than his first heat, so
first run.
That's an improvement.
So what you want to do, look at it, personal best. Yeah. What's he got for the season?
Well, now, what did he do last weekend? Let's take a look. You watch that, 16th and 17th last weekend, so he'll be at least equal with that right now.
I think this was a pretty good run. A little late coming out of there.
I think he's developing fast, and I mean, he is currently rated a little behind Baumgartner in points, but I think that's going to turn around this weekend.
He had 13 the first 3 races, then a 12.
So Mattia Variola is the race leader. He was in a tie for 15th place and is currently ahead of Lamindine and teammate Patrick Baumgartner.
That's quite a separation, 4600s too.
Second driver in the tie for 15th place. The second heat of the race 7 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup was Alexei Stulnev of Russia. Rookie brakeman Igor Gryaznov has only started racing this year, but in his early 20s looks like a real potential brakeman for Russia.
They switched sleds up, the 2 drivers. We'll see the other Russian come 6 or 8 more sleds, but the other Russian was driving this sled last weekend. And Stulnev's veteran. He's been around He's been around a long time.
Well, neither of the Russian drivers were in Sigulda, so they only started their World Cup campaign here in Innsbruck, and that's the first time we've seen this yellow and black livery on the sled. The sponsors are the same as on the white sled, so I'm wondering if it is a brand new piece of equipment.
Well, it's a paint job for sure, but yellow's much better for TV coverage than white. I'll tell you that. It stands out.
Sure does. 52-14.
Not good enough. Not good enough.
So, Mattia Variola, the former brakeman, breaks the tie with Alexei Stulnev. So Variola will be no worse than 14th. And Stulnev, 14th and 18th last weekend, will be no worse than 15th.
400 slower in this heat than he was in the first heat at the start. Look at the brakeman. Let's see kind of technique. Now, he's not perfect. So we'll give him a B on the entrance to the sled because of the way he brought his arms in. The driving right here, well, Stulnev's, he's been driving out here, Martin. We've seen him for at least 7 years, 8 years. Exit of 10.
So Stulnev drops. There's Gryaznov in the background. Next up, 14th place, 20th place in both races last weekend for Mihai Tenter when he was sitting in because of injury. But with Ciprian Darocci, no longer the slowest sled away from the start line. 5:27 first heat. Nobody's gone as quick yet as their first start. And they continue that trend.
Had a 7th place finish up in Sigulda, Martin, which is a driver's track. I mean, he suffers at the start. But as we know, when we first saw him a couple years ago, we went, wow, this young 18, they were promoting this 18-year-old kid out of Romania in 2019, I think it was, at the World's Koenigsegg. Here he is. And we realized then he's got some talent. Romania used to have a track up in the mountains called Sinaia. Few people I know were sliding on it, but the Romanians, they won Olympic medals last in Grenoble in 67 or 68. So
comes down in second spot, so he'll be no worse than 15th. Mattia Variola now guaranteed a 14th place finish. So Variola puts a bit of separation. His team,
It might be Variola's personal best. Variola's.
I think it might be.
Oh, he's got a little skid going there. You can see it's wound up. It's like a little bit of a top there. The back end came out on him.
Variola had a 12th place finish in Sigulda earlier in the season, so that's his target for a World Cup best, but he's on a personal best here in Innsbruck at the moment. And so too, in fact, is Mihai Tenter.
Yeah, Mihai's still wounded, though. He had to sit in the sled last weekend.
I think everybody's looking forward to a bit of Christmas break. Now then, Brad Hall of Great Britain in his other sled with Sam Blanchett behind him, the Rugby 7s and Rugby 15s player. And back after a year of enforced absence from injury, Sam. Started 5:11 in the first heat, but they had a mishap down in turn 1, or before turn 1.
In. Looks like he got in a step earlier, and still a little late getting that push bar down. Best start, 5:15. He had a 5:11 in the first run, so that start track, everybody's slower up there, Martin.
Maybe a little softer, just not giving the sled a run as much. 1200s up on our current leader, Mattia Variola, and this is that really tight group that we were talking about, John, from 6th to about 11th or 12th. We've got a massive bun fight coming up.
Well, this is about the 50th sled down the track today, Martin. And, you know, as much as they spritz the track between runs, you know, it does get a little chewed up. Especially that start track up there with those. He's got enough. 1600 should be the leader. 2000's pulled away, 51. He's 2000's better in the second run.
And so much of that comes from not hitting the brakes. And they go running off the end, talking about not hitting the brakes. Sam a little late on the brakes there, out of the slowing down corner. There's one corner after the finish line. Let's take a look at the start again.
Okay, let's watch the brakeman's. Ben does left to right, not together. I don't think Ben will give him a B+. But they didn't hit the wall. Push bar came down really late, Martin, and that's dangerous because if you're over towards the right side of our screen, that push bar could hit the wall. Somebody limping here?
Yep. I think they look okay. Brad Hall of Great Britain is the race leader. Ivo de Bruin up next with Janko Franchik. So let's see what he can produce. Uncle Cheese. That is a bit of national stereotyping there from the Austrians. It's too easy, says our Dutch director in my ear.
I'm just upset we don't have a lot of orange color on this sled. Usually the Dutch got a lot of orange, ever than they do. Great technique by the brakeman there.
Yeah,
Janko, he's been around.
Janko.
Yeah, and Ivo, first man off in the race, through number 1, which is favorable on these ice tracks that cut up. And let's, they've got a pretty good.
Faster start, John, and better speed, because, again, they didn't hit the short wall in their second run, so that was a quicker getaway. And
he's back, second best speed.
Yeah.
He's got to find that little Austrian shortcut.
He was 100th ahead after the first heat. This could be very close indeed, only 500s in it. If he gets top speed here, he could just catch him at the line. Doesn't.
No, 51.86. So he's 900s better, but wasn't enough. Brad Hall.
Yeah, Brad Hall, 2/10 better. So Brad moves up. Yeah, there's Janko, 5:16. Yeah, baby.
Sometimes the brakemen don't care about what their finish time. They only want to know the start. Now watch his technique. Watch the arms. Perfect. Comes up in cohesion. He's waiting for them to get settled, and still got his visor up. That'll come down, and with his arm right there, they're off. Okay, now let's look for the exit of curve 9. Pretty quiet exit there. A little bit of spray. Pretty good drive down the track for Ivo. Just wasn't enough.
Everybody home. Hey, Martin. Hope everybody's safe. Hope everybody's good. Love you.
I must be working with the Dutch too. I understood every word he said there. My Dutch is great. Next up, Simon Friedrich, rookie brakeman Andreas Haas making his first World Cup start. But Haas also brand new to the sport. He has done one race before today, ever in bobsleigh.
Well, if you're going to break him in, this is the place to break him in.
Yeah, sooner here than Altenburg or Whistler, I guess.
Altenburg or Whistler, Lake Placid.
Lake Placid, yeah.
There's again, get to the bottom on their first rides. You want to look in their eyes. And I've come to where I can be a pretty good judge where you go, you should go back to the top, or you should go to the parking lot. And there's no gray area in the between. You know if somebody's frightened coming down the track. And it's very easy to be, Martin. This is not for everybody.
You either catch the camion back up or you catch the first train out of town.
Yeah.
Nice looking run from Simon Friedrich, looking for a place in the top 10. It's a 10th away from him.
Much better run than his first heat, Martin. And he shouldn't be 51.74. He's 300 slower, but he already won a medal this year in the World Cup. Of course, he crashed one day, won a medal the next up in Sigulda. So, 3 years ago, he was a brakeman. So he's an example of one of the brakemen that go to the front seat right after the Olympic Games. That's what he did. Look at the technique. You get all this technique of hopping in the sleds, all that dry land training, the brakeman, not perfect, but not bad. A-. Then he looks like he steered around there, Martin. You see some people take a little bit of that, more of that curve, and use some body lean to get out of there. here.
He's had a pretty decent career so far. 10 World Cup races. He's already had 1 silver and 1 bronze medal as a driver. I'm going to have to compare that to how well he did as a brakeman, actually. Simon Friedrich leads, Brad Hall lies second, and Ivo de Bruin in third place. 10 down, 10 to go here in Innsbruck. We were talking a little bit about equipment, John, and having people help with the equipment, having coaches who know their equipment, and he talked about Wolfgang Stampfer and so on. Here's a little stat about Francesco Friedrich that you will be very interested in. Francesco has a separate sled just for Altenburg. Now, how NASCAR is that? Where you know, they build a super speedway car in NASCAR. When it's been wrecked a couple of times, it becomes a short oval car because it's no longer entirely straight and true. The sled apparently has 3 separate locks. You need 3 separate individuals to unlock the sled in the sled shed before you can get it out and go racing in Altenburg. How much security surrounds that one single sled? And like I said, it looks like he just turns up, wins and goes home, but the level of preparation is starting to get otherworldly. Well, there's Simon Friedrich watching
just the locks on that thing is puts
I knew you'd love
the fear into everybody. Like, what's he doing? What's he doing? Oh my God, the fear, you know. And it's the same thing with Hans Hildebrand winning the World Championships in '77 with the Teflon strip down the runners. Everybody was flipped out, and he won the Worlds going away. And I asked him 10 years, 20 years later, I said, Hans, were those runners really that? Because they got, you know, the next summer you couldn't. The new rule came out, you couldn't put any foreign substance or anything down the middle of the runner. Hans Hildebrand said to me, John, those runners weren't faster than anything I had, but it put the fear of God in everybody else, made them change their way. And that's the same as auto racing.
Yeah.
You know that, Martin.
It's all in the head. You win or lose in the 6 inches between the ears. Race 7 of the BMW IBSF 2-man bobsleigh World Cup. We're in Innsbruck in Austria. Final 10 sleds as we head in towards the battle for the medals. Top 10 run in the first heat for the young Russian, 26-year-old Rostislav Gajtukovic. We saw him for the very first time late last season, and he has already overtaken Alexei Stulnev, the team's, quote, #1 de facto driver. He's got veteran brakeman Ilya Malik behind him, and this time it's a clean getaway. At a 5:09, they were being a little more cautious, perhaps.
Yeah, remember, he's 4th last week in one of the races here. Martin, we don't know much about him, but we read his bio sheet, and his favorite athlete, this will tell you about his persona, Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
So, we don't really speak the language, don't really get a feel. Of course, we're 4,000 miles from the athletes. You can't really interview them, talk to them, what we're going through. But this kid's got some talent. He showed it to us last weekend. And other than the mishap at the start in the first heat, he might be in the top 5 challenging for a medal. 1400s here. And again, he switched sleds. Different sled. He drove the other Russian sled last weekend.
51.67, quicker than his first heat. That would have left him in 6th position after the first heat. Now, assuming that the track has got no slower, again, that shows why he was 8th and 4th last weekend. He's Russia's #1. I don't care who comes back from a ban. He's Russia's #1, this kid.
What's the brakeman
Look
here?
at Malik.
Look at he's a veteran. The boy is having look, he can't get his knees. Look, he's still trying to get in. Of course, when you're 6'3", 235 pounds, they got to get him in there with a crowbar. I mean, look, he's too high there. He's got to get down lower.
He's inching his way in, isn't he? He's inching his way in.
Yeah.
You've got to get your legs around the driver. Yeah, and he's a big man, Ilya Malik. Never known to smile. Gentle giant. So next up, the first of our 3 Latvian sleds is Oskars Melbardis. Arnis Bebris, a newcomer to the World Cup squad this season, is his brakeman. Melbardis needing no introduction unless you only started watching bobsled about 18 months ago. Then you'd think, who is this guy? Well, he's been around a few times.
Well, world champion on this track in 2016. First ever world championship for a Latvian bobsledder. And Martin, he's been sliding since 2004. Was his first event as a brakeman, and then he went on to win the Olympic gold medal in 4-man bobsled in Sochi. Back issues next year, he really had to take the season off. Just made a return a little bit last season. He's not the horse he was at the start. In fact, he owns the track record at the start, Martin, with Domin Striskins. They set 14
There's not many athletes that are like he was at the start, that's for sure. 2400s back, he's going to drop a couple of spots. He'll be behind Gajcikovic and Friedrich. Yes, he is. So he's down 2 spots. So he will be no worse than 11th, 12th, I guess.
He also
going
won a
in the wrong
bronze
direction.
He also won a bronze in the 2-man in Pyeongchang, right?
Yes, he did, yeah. An Olympic medalist in Pyeongchang as well. Finished
Had
in
one
third
bad
place
heat.
behind
He's
the tie for gold.
Yeah, he was only about 600-800s. He had one bad heat. And or else he would have been up there challenging for that gold medal in 2-man too. But he's a horse. I would say he's definitely the biggest driver in the competition. Mild-mannered. I wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley. There he is. Look at the size of that.
Like all Latvians,
250 pounds. He could run like
quietly.
a deer.
So Oskars Melbardis slips a couple, which leaves Gajcikovic of Russia as our race leader as we get to the second sled that was in the tie for 8th place. Dominik Dvorak and Dominik Suchy. Suchy making his first 2-man start of the season. Dvorak his 31st as a driver. Suchy his 20th in 2-man, but he's definitely part of the 4-man crew. Started back in 2007, 13 seasons ago.
The driver's probably one of the fastest 100-meter guys in the field here, Martin, but 5:13 start in the first run. Not good, but he just drove around and tapped the take on. So the speed, start, I mean, he's got the second best start, second best speed. 500's back, that's relative to the deficiency of the start to the Russian. 800's back now, 9th. Yeah.
Gajcikovic was 100th ahead after first heat, so this is going to be super tight, but a mistake out of 9. It's not helping.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything like he had in the first heat, but he's coming back, Martin. 122 clicks, pretty good. 800's all he can do. 51.76, 600 slower.
So is the track holding up, or is it starting to lose a little bit of pace?
I think it's lost pace, especially at the start. Everybody's going 200, 300, 400 slower at the start. Dvorak a 5:11 that time. Oh, he went faster. He went 5:13 first run, 5:11 there, but most everybody else gone slower at the start. Ice doesn't look kind of like it. There's no shiny ice there, Martin. See that? There's no shiny ice. Brakeman, very, very A+ technique, other than the fact he's way wider than the sled.
I think they all are, aren't they, really? Even
well, not all of them. No, you're starting to see some athletes that are bigger in the lower body and, not as wide at the top. Little aerodynamic.
Right, next up, best Austrian in the race, Benny Meyer, with Marcus Sammer behind him. Benny Meyer lying in 7th place. Advantage over currently the Gajcikovic, a whopping 300ths of a second.
5:11 first run, 5:15 second run. Benny knows all the Austrian shortcuts on this track, and he's going to need to find him. His 800's back. Most likely, though, Martin, we could see him start with these #1 speed markers. And that'll 8 to 10, 6th best speed. That's not good. Maybe the track doesn't have anything left.
This is the next Francesco Friedrich sled. This is a World Championship winning sled, but he's only 9th best on speed. Gajcikovic is hanging on here.
Remember, Gatutrovic had that bad first run that hit at the start.
Yeah.
Crushed the wall
And
before
Benny
curve
Meyer
one.
drops a couple. He drops behind
2 spots.
Dvorak.
51.85. Benny 1,700 slower in that run. Sommers, brakeman, he was out driving World Cup about 4 years ago. And the Austrian said, "You're too valuable as a brakeman. We got to have you as a brakeman." So,
Yeah.
so he's been hooked up with Benny ever since. Look at all the holes they take out of the push bar. The reason they do that, they take the weight out there and they can redistribute it into the sled. Okay, I mean, Benny, we're looking for the Austrian shortcut. You didn't find it.
No, speed was just dropping out of the sled.
Yeah,
So
nothing by the time he got to
fastest-
Kreisel.
Yeah, Lamindine still has the best speed at 2 of our speed traps, and Lamindine was what, 3rd off? I
Well,
wonder
he's
if
got that shiny
if the
track.
is giving up speed. Yeah. Well, there's Inch next
not
up
if.
for Latvia.
It's
We're in the
not
top
if
6,
the
John.
track's giving it up.
Yeah, it is. It's how much, and who's
Yeah.
going to fall again? Topple to Gajtukovic. Bezinch with 400s in the bank. I mean, these 6 or 7 sleds, it's effectively a dead heat, and I think Gajtukovic had the best ice.
5:09 should be 5:07, so they improved at the start. This young Latvian's been in the twilight of the other of Melbardis and Kibermanis. But Martin, he looked pretty raw a couple years ago when we first saw him. Had some PBs last year, and this year's had a couple top 6, 7 finishes. Keeps coming on, and he's got the best speed and 500s in the bank. Still 5, but the 5th best speed on the exit of Kreisel. Still got green, but boy, it's going to be close to red. Dead heat. I think he's going to be red at the bottom, Martin.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's lost the speed now, and across the line, 100th in it.
So our Russian
51.72. Yeah,
1, 2,
that's
3,
tough.
4.
He was
vaults
400s
into
in front.
Yeah. Martin, remember, the Russian was 4th last week in one of the races. And here he is, had a bad first heat, with hitting the wall before curve 1, and now he's moved up 4 spots. He's into a top 6 position. No worse.
Listen, 4th place was only 2,200s away from him after the first heat. He might just bridge that gap. He could be top 5, he could be top 4. I don't think he's going to get a medal, but...
Berzin's, I'll say this about this young athlete here. Got the top speed, got the top start. So Berzins is coming. Yep. That's a name. Keep your eyes on. He's coming. He's going to school for the last couple of years. He's about ready to graduate into challenging for medals.
Final 5 sleds, race 7 of the BMW IBSF 2-man bobsleigh World Cup in Innsbruck in Austria. Michael Vogt finished in 4th place in race 1 last weekend, and off form 15th, almost his worst ever 2-man World Cup result in his short career so far. Sandro Michel behind him for the first time this weekend. 5:14 getaway. They are battling for a top 5 spot with Rostislav Gajtukovic of Russia.
4th in the World Cup standings last year. So he's had a breakout year last year. Martin's already won a couple medals. He's up there in the top of the leaderboard in the World Cup overall standings. But it's a dead heat now. He's got 13th best time. Martin, the track, the ice is gone. I really, that unless some kind of clock malfunction, but this athlete shouldn't have the 13th best speed.
Unless
Still
he
got
can
green
hold
numbers.
it together here. 300s
Still
looking for top 5 finish. Going to be very close at the line, but he should have it. He does by 200ths of a second. Yes.
Top 5 then.
Peter Ramseidel happy with that. And they are the leaders with 4 to go. So top 5 finish. And yeah, 15th last Sunday. A bit of an inexplicable glitch in his form, but he is a solid top 5, top 6 driver every day.
Well, He's got two bronzes and a silver already this year, so he's coming. You know, he just came out after the games and started making statements. Last year a little bit, couple good run. Here he is. He's got 3 podiums already, and you know, I don't think he's going to get a podium here, Martin, but he could reach up and he could get another spot.
Nothing's
coming up.
Yeah, never say never in this track. You know, this young man, Hans-Peter Hofinger, he is a brand new driver. Hanninghofer, rather. He's a brand new driver in the World Cup. And he has only done about 15 bobsleigh races in Europa Cup up until now. So a new discovery in the German setup. 4th best start, 4th best down time, but only 200s out of the medals.
And Martin, he went last in the first heat. I don't like that. Again, I mentioned the first heat. Look at how high his helmet is above the cowl. Now, he's a big guy, but I'm sure the Germans will figure that out, that he's got to get a little lower in that sled.
They're going to have to drill a hole in the bottom of the sled.
When you see Friedrich come down, you'll see how low he is.
Yeah. Yeah, Friedrich doesn't drive like a grandmother from Florida. He just looks that small behind the wheel. Yeah. This is a good run from the German. Hanninghofer, 2100s up, but has he got enough speed, John?
This is his World Cup debut. I'm liking this guy to win a medal here. Melbardis is going to have to really match. This is a good run.
Yep. Agreed. 51.67.
1800 slower in his first run, but the track is slowing down.
Now, he was only 200s behind Melbardis. So, as you say, Melbardis has to pull out something special now. Otherwise, he's going to give away a medal. Kubermanis, indeed.
It ended in an S, so you were close. But, hey, the Germans, you know, how deep are they? Here's another guy we've never seen before.
But look at his speed. Nearly a kilometer shy of the fastest sled, yeah. But again, when you start 5:09, yeah, you're right in it, aren't you? And there he is on the left-hand side. That's not the brakeman. The brakeman is shorter than the driver. 3 to go. Time to sort out the medals. Oskars Kubermanis, Matas Miknes. Yeah. Miknes has been around the block a couple of times. 37th two-man World Cup start from the former basketball player. You can imagine that, can't you, from Leopold?
Last week was Miknes, athlete.
Yeah. Now, is he going to be a medalist for the 3rd time in Innsbruck? 5:01, that is a big start.
That's a statement. Now he's got to be clean. I don't know if he watched the clocks or what the German did. If you're an astute driver, some guys look there, but, you know, no matter what you do, you have to come out and do your best and just get to the bottom and let the card slide.
You've got to beat the mountain, never mind what the other guys do.
Wow, 2300s is
good
impressive.
Speed.
He's still flying, 2600s accelerating away, and little rudder check there.
Only 200s from the first heat in hand.
2800s ahead. This is impressive. A track we thought was a slow track, it's not. 51.40. He was 700s better than his first heat. So, Martin, did he have a bad first run? I suspect he had a bad first run. Everybody else is coming down a little bit less than their first run. He just came down and proved it.
Well, he was shaking his head when he came into the finish station on the first heat. Not so much on that one. Gets in clean.
Watch the technique of this brakeman. Look at the brake. Whoa, look how he disappears. 6'4", 235 pounds. Gets into that perfect aerodynamic position in the back. You don't even see him here. And look how low look how low he is in the cowling. You know, the driver's
Do the Latvians just spend all day, every day in the summer loading into a sled? They must do. They are so good. Okay, 2 to go. Oskars Kubermanis leads for Latvia. He was a 10th behind Johannes Lochner and Christian Rasp after the first heat. Hansi with a gold and a silver last weekend in the two-man races here. Can he hang on and take at least another silver? Sprinter start with the offset feet. This is starting to become a new thing now. Christian Rust very much in favor of that.
5:08, not a very good start for Hansi, who's usually gets great starts. He had some very mysterious speeds up here, Martin, in the first heat. He was 22 hundredths behind Friedrich, who went ahead of him by the time he got to Kreisel. And something was wrong there. He's 5 hundredths behind, but he's got the best speed. And he's gonna have to find perfect line down here to catch Melbardis, or Kiebermanis. 7 hundredths.
They're slowing, not coming down.
The Austrian shortcut down here. 6 hundredths, he's gonna run out of track.
This is where he won it last week, down in the final couple of corners, not enough. So it will be a medal for Johannes Lochner, but Kiebermanis, after 2 bronzes last weekend, will be no worse than silver. You assume no better than silver, but racing is racing. So
start time. He got beat at the start by 7 hundredths. Yeah, he got beat at the start by Kiebermanis. And, you know, by 12 hundredths at the start over 2 heats, that's 36 hundredths at the bottom. He outdrove Kiebermanis, but Kiebermanis beat him in his first 50 meters.
Both wearing those new blue start shoes. Remember, we saw them in Altenburg? Yeah.
Oh, that was, he drove around that little spot.
Didn't he? Shaved it around there. So a first, a second, and now potentially a third in Innsbruck for Johannes Lochner. What about Francesco Friedrich? Silver, then gold last weekend. Just the track record in the first heat. They're not going to worry about the start record now. This is time to win gold.
Yeah, watch out here. We've seen people run into the wall here by running too far. Boy, they ran a long ways. Sure, the brakeman, wow. 498, only 2 hundredths off a 6-year-old start record.
That's insane.
Look how low Friedrich is in the cowling. Watch the way he leans in and out of curves. Sort of get the momentum of the sled without steering, without making those blades grab friction across the ice. And he's making a joke out of this competition with 6/10 lead. That might drop back a little bit, but a sport to the 100th of a second. This guy, think of all the greats, Schumacher, think of all the greats.
Are we on for another track record? 51.04 in the first heat, across the line. No, 51.15. Well, you talk about Schumacher. Yeah. Michael Schumacher is his favorite athlete, and he is just the Michael Schumacher of this sport. He's the Valentino Rossi. He is head and shoulders above anybody that we currently are seeing. And you know, he understands his position in the sport. I think they were going for the start record. I think he knew he had enough to win the gold. I think they were trying to take that start record. It stood since 2011, and they were 2 hundredths away. And Alexander Schuller, the brakeman there, another gold medal. This is his 8th World Cup start, Alex. It's his 7th win. He's had 1 silver medal as well.
Well,
These
he made a good choice as a driver.
Magical, didn't he, though? These two are such a magical combination.
I don't know how he got to choose his driver, but he did choose a good one here. And this, unbelievable. Yeah. But this guy, the start times, every week, he does it. He's magical. You know, it's always he comes to the track and it's his race to lose. I mean, and he didn't win by 15 hundredths. He won by almost 7/10.
Yep. So that is career win number 32. In 2-man alone.
How many starts?
Oscar Kiebermanis takes silver. Hansi Lochner bronze. That's his 69th 2-man start. Tomorrow will be his 70th. And it could well be win number 33 in a 2-man sled. Oscar's Melbardis just outside the top 10. Brad Hall, Ivo de Bruin and the rest of them So that is how our field finishes. The first of 2 races here in Innsbruck. And John, we may see these pictures again after the heat tomorrow, because Francesco Friedrich doesn't look like giving anything away in a hurry.
No, and I think tomorrow he's got the track record now, the downtime. I'm sure he'll take one of his horses out of the barn. He'll select one tomorrow and go for the start record too, and another win.
Well, he went with
when you come to the track and it's, you know, when you go to the track and it's your race to lose. Wow.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Went with Torsten both races last weekend. I think he'll go with Schuller both races this weekend. He's our World Cup points leader. Johannes Lochner still in second. Kibo Manis in third. Mikael Vogt jumps up ahead of the absent Christoph Hafer into fourth. And Hafer drops down to 7th place. He'll drop further tomorrow. He's not here this weekend. His place has been taken by the third of our German pilots this weekend, Hans-Peter Hannighofer, the rookie, just missing out on a podium finish with 4th place. And Shanwain Stevens makes his mark for Jamaica. So that is our 2-man race for today done. They're back on ice tomorrow morning. 10 local is when we start our broadcast. That is 0900 GMT. That is 0400 Eastern. What does the O stand for? Oh God, it's early. Till then, from me, Martin Haven, and John Morgan from the IBSF TV crew, take care, stay safe, enjoy your Saturday. We'll see you tomorrow morning for the final race before Christmas.